Well, this is a video of the four-wheeler I just built. Where I make a video before I go out and trash it. Started out with a 250EX frame, which are shaft driven. Made this is a Chinese 250 motor. Made all these motor mounts. And the rear swing arm is a 450R swing arm. Made the axle pin and everything to make it fit. And there's little holes, probably about 1.5 inch hole. Had to make plugs to go in them, fill them in. And the shock on the back, move this out of the way. On a 250, this is offset. I had to cut it off and re-weld the mount back on. And I was cheap and used a power wheel battery that I already had and made a box, angle iron box for it to go in. I think it'll be alright. I'm probably going to have to get a new battery, but I'll probably just get another power wheel battery. They're the same price anyway. And got a box for it, and it plugs in. And I tried to make so that all the electronics, except for the regulator, is right here in one spot, instead of underneath the fenders and stuff. Got the coil here, and CDI unit here, and starter solenoid here. The back end of it is pretty much mostly mixtures of things, but this is a Chinese axle. It had a 40 millimeter where the bearings ride on. It was 40 millimeter. I did some searching and found that the 450R had the 40 millimeter bearing. The only thing that was kind of catch up with it was this has dual bearings on one side, and I had to have a guy machine over more area on the axle so that both bearings could ride on the axle. But it all worked out. All the links worked out for it. I didn't put the rear brake on. Yeah, just the standards. You just downshift and use the front brakes. I'm so used to not really using my backs with my other bike, because if I use them, they just wear down within 3 or 4 rides anyways. So I did put the regulator on the outside here. It needs to stay cool, so it's the only thing I mounted away from everything else. And then the rest of the suspension and frame and everything is all Honda stuff. The only thing kind of weird about it is one side is Recon and one side is TRX. They all seem to be about the same length and everything, but the TRX bars are a little smaller around than the Recons. And I did notice that the bottom of the Recon shock mount is wider, so I had to put some washers in there to make up the difference, so I wasn't bending it. And then for anybody that's looking for brakes for a 250EX, 300EX, or a 400EX, I'm telling you, they're all the same, because they wanted like $100 a piece for 250EX calipers, and I put photos of 300 and 400s beside them, and they just look the same. I was able to pick up both of these, which are like new, for like $67, and they're off of a 300EX. So, and they bolted right on, worked just fine. This body sits a lot higher than the original body would have. As you can see here, this right here I believe would have been the original gas tank mount. So this body sits up a good bit higher. I had to make it sit up like that for it to fit right, because this is a Chinese body. I think it's meant to be copied after a 450R's body. It was originally off of a 250. From what I can see in looking at pictures, I think the 450R pieces will replace any of these if I ever break them. Which, as you can see here, I did break this piece. I was storing this stuff up in the top of my shed, and my steps are kind of steep, and I actually fell on them and broke them. I was so mad because they're like mint condition. This whole body was all from one bike. I did have to buy a seat to fit it. It was pretty easy to find. It kind of looks like a 450R seat. But I got some aluminum bars I made a deal with a guy for, and the steering stem, I had to lengthen it like 5 inches or so to accommodate the height of the body. I think it's going to bend easy. It'll be something I'll have to go back to, probably make a new one. I'll probably just make a new one out of a solid shaft, because it's a Honda steering shaft, but with it lengthened 5 inches, it's you can kind of flex it when you push on it. One good jump and it's probably going to bend. But, some things is just trial and error. You do something, think it's going to work, and then later on discover that it's not. This is the first day I've had it out of the shed running. I rode it around the yard a little bit, so it got a little dirty already. It's kind of muddy out here. I added something else I did. I got an LED brake light. It's not a tail light though, it's just a brake light. I only ride at night anyway, so the exhaust is pretty much completely custom. I mean, the tube that comes out of the motors fits the motor, but from there on it's made out of like bicycle tubes and pieces cut out of stuff. This muffler, I had to shorten it. I cut off this end of it, cut about, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches out of it, and re-welded it back up. There's actually a catalytic converter in there. I was kind of surprised to see that. I think it sounds alright. And I added these little roller tensioner. I don't know if you see there, but being that this bike used to be shaft driven, the swing arm mounts in really low in the frame. So when I was putting the motor in, the only way I could really get it in here was to have it a little more forward in the frame. So they ended up having a massively long chain. I put these, there's 2 of them in there. There's one on the bottom, one on the top. Kind of help guide the chain a little bit, keep it from slapping around while you're riding around. So far, not counting money in the body that I had and the motor that I had for a while, there's about $1,300 sitting here. And I'm sure there's some things I'm going to have to redo, you know. It's something you built from scratch pretty much. With a bunch of things you just made fit together. This grab bar on the front, I don't know what it fit, but it bolted up at the top, but at the bottom it wouldn't spread far enough to go on the original mounts. So welded in a pipe right here and put a bolt through it. probably wouldn't withstand yanking with another bike or something, but you can grab a hold of it and pick it up and pull it out of the mud if you needed. And if you yanked on it, I just tacked these on. There's a lot of things I did on here. I tried to make it so that it could be taken back off if you wanted to. Most of the stuff would be easy to cut back off if you ever wanted to turn it back into a regular Honda bike. And being a Chinese motor and stuff, might get a good couple years out of it, and then it'd be no good. Never know if somebody else might need a frame later on, or things are like $300 or $400 on eBay, so you can cut the stuff back off. It makes it kind of handy. The other thing was this rear grab bar in the seat mount, or the seat latch. It's actually cut out of another bike and then welded to this frame. The body kind of has a contours up where the 250EX the seat kind of just levels out, and this kind of made it good when I welded this on top. The frame gave me that curve and my latch and a grab bar, 3 things in one. So I think that's about it for my video. I think I covered everything.